everyone actually does agree that we live in a two-tier system of policing, and they've been saying it for a long, long time. They've just realized that the other side are also saying it, and so now it's not true, right? We'll get into the details of this in a minute, but before we begin, we had a roundtable discussion, a 2-hour discussion about the riots and why they've been happening. It's been really, really popular on the website, and it gives you our deep and intelligent analysis on why this is all going on. Go and sign up to support us, because of course we're demonetized, so if you want us to be able to do a podcast, we need support. And to be honest with you, and I don't know how you're feeling about GB News, Leo, I think we're all in trouble, man. I think Keir Starmer's going to come down on us hard.
Yeah, we always joked before, like me and some friends would joke about how when Labour got in, they'd make it illegal to be right-wing and illegal to express any right-wing views or opinions. And they're doing it the first month they've announced that they want to do it.
Yeah, they're really going balls to the wall on all this, aren't they?
And I think that when we talk about left and right, we're really talking about authoritarianism and freedom. So the left is authoritarian, and the right is more sort of individual freedoms. It's not like the left and right of the old days.
It's also more things like the right are like, I think I live in a country.
Yeah,
I think I come from, in your case, like Scotland. I come from England, and they're like, no, you don't. Everyone else on earth comes from Scotland and England. Actually, look, they've just got off the plane. Look, average Scottish person. It's like, okay, all right.
Also, the English don't exist.
Yeah. Also,
there was a great clip going around of a load of people in Scotland going, I'm a black Scottish adventurer. Of course, I exercise my rights. And there was a little addendum at the end, which was a white guy going, hi, I'm a white Chinese man.
Anyway, so I thought I put together a little compilation of them all denying that two-tier policing happens. So
there's no two-tier policing. There is policing without fear or favour. Exactly as it should be, exactly what I would expect and require.
On the substance of the issue that you're raising about the idea that there is somehow some sort of two-tier police operation in this country, I totally reject that. I think it's a completely baseless accusation, and I won't entertain it.
Are we going to end two-tier policing, sir?
Comment from Mark Rowley there.
Mm-hmm. There's a very dangerous rhetoric going around about two-tier policing, which is absolute nonsense.
The serious voices who echo those are of more concern to me, because the risk is they legitimise it, and they legitimise the violence that the officers I'm sending on mutual aid today will face on the streets. They are putting them at risk by suggesting that any of those officers are going out with any intent other than to operate without fear or favour in protecting communities.
Okay, we'll stop that there because I don't want to spoil the end there. But as you can see, all of the great and good, the Prime Minister, the Secretary of the Courts, the Met Police Assistant, Police Chief, and the former assistant, and various others have all said no, absolutely not. Won't entertain it, it's not true. And so the Black Police Association came out to also deny it.
The what, sorry?
The Black Police Association.
Why does that exist?
Couldn't get comment from the White Police Association. I wonder if that's evidence of two-tier policing. But there was also, obviously, a lot of media denial. Sky News, two-tier policing? What does that mean? And does it exist? The conclusion they came to is obviously no. The Guardian also published this. Two-tier policing myth has become widespread.
I remember a particular community note that popped up under this on Twitter.
Yeah, Elon Musk tweeted that out. Brutal community note. The Guardian have been telling people about two-tier policing based on race and sexuality for decades, which is exactly the point. I mean, 7 months ago, the head of Britain's police chiefs says the police force is institutionally racist, but it's not two-tier. You've got to understand, it's one tier of institutional racism. It's us against everyone. I don't know what they're saying.
I do agree that it is, but the race that they're discriminating against is not the one the Guardian would suggest.
Exactly.
Even The Economist, which is normally, sort of reliable and, quite centrist, it said that there was no evidence of two-tier policing, and as evidence they said because there are more black kids stopped in searches.
Yeah, that's his argument.
Than there are. Yeah, and it's like that's not the issue that we're looking at. The issue is, like, for example, the Muslim mob's allowed to rampage outside Rochdale Police Station, kicking in the doors.
Leave your weapons in the mosque.
In Leeds, leave the weapons in the mosque. Or in Leeds, the police ran away from the ethnic riots in Leeds.
Yep, and the whole justice system has got this two-tier bias built into it. I mean, for example, the kind of people that Starmer's letting out of prison early. like machete murderers and things like this. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing? It's like, well, we need to lock up a bunch of white kids who are rioting in Southport.
Yeah, I think the most recent one that I saw was a man of foreign extraction being let out of prison maybe in September after serving about 5 months for assisting in the murder of a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I covered it on the podcast the other day. But there are so many other examples. I thought I'd cover a different one. So this is something that came up, which I just think is remarkable. This is from Cheshire Police. Woman arrested in connection with inaccurate social media post.
Yeah, she put up a picture of herself with bunny rabbit ears, and
that was
whiskers.
Fake news.
That was that.
Turns out she has normal human ears.
Yeah,
she wasn't actually a bunny.
Yeah, but I just want us to take this in. This is Starmer's Britain in 2024. That headline, I mean, honestly, I would just like to just put that on billboards around the country, make sure everyone sees this. This is the country you live in now. Arrested because you posted inaccurate information on social media. They treat social media as if it's broadcast media. They're treating social media and the people using it as if these are official statements from political organizations. Right? This is a woman being like, I think I've seen this, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, no, that may as well have come from Sky News, GB News, wherever. It could have come from a foreign government. We're going to treat you like a high-profile political agent when you do this. So, okay. So this is a 55-year-old woman from Cheshire, probably a mum, probably a completely normal person, because she was held on suspicion of publishing written material to stir up hatred and false communications. And so she's being held in custody. Can't you just have taken a phone away from her or something? No, she has to be held in custody. And so Chief Superintendent Alison Ross says it's a stark reminder of the dangers of posting information on social media platforms without checking the accuracy. Sorry, it's a stark reminder of the danger of posting inaccurate information. What, because we live under a tyrannical government? Stalin can say, well, these gulags are a stark reminder of, saying anti-communist things. Like, you're tyrannizing them. You're tyrannizing us. It's mad. And so a number of experts have said that this misinformation had been used by a, quote, vocal minority to sow division and fuel their own agenda and trigger a summer of thrill-seeking impulsive insurrection. They make it sound great, don't they? After violent disorder in the day since the attack. So obviously we've been completely against any kind of rioting or violent disorder or even protest at this time. Tensions are far too high. And speaking
also, as we saw on Wednesday night and Thursday, it does seem that government operatives are trying to organise a lot of it.
Well, yes, but moving on from that fake news as well. So, okay, we've got a woman here who's being accused of inciting the riots and helping to stir up racial hatred in Southport by posting the alleged name of the person who did the stabbings in Southport. That was correct. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was an Arabic name, and this guy didn't have an Arabic name. So she had posted fake news. And so she's being accused of ginning up hatred and racial hatred in order to create riots. And we actually have another really good example of that to show you the nature of two-tier policing. For example, this was posted on social media, and it was doing the rounds. It obviously had come out of a Muslim WhatsApp group.
Salam boys, just a quick one, and there's people going around in cars, white lads, and they've got acid in their bags, and they're throwing it out of windows at Muslim women. I've just seen a woman there. Someone's just told me. I've just quickly been. She pretty had acid thrown on her legs, and she's saying her legs are all burning. So please be careful and tell your missus and your sisters or whoever it is, don't go out alone.
Wow, that sounds true.
Yeah, the English known for their acid attacks.
Yeah, that sounds totally true. And so the Muslim community came out and believed this fake news. This is something.
Our fathers have come from a different country to here. We were born here. We are British, Pakistanis. We are Muslims. We will stand here. We will fight against EDL. We will fight our ground. Our innocent Muslim sisters are getting acid attacked. Mosques are getting broken. But everyone should be here. Fuck the EDL.
Right. So, I mean, this seems like a good example of how fake news can cause people to become raucous, violent, and racist.
Surely nobody credible shared this fake news.
No, nobody credible did. Nick Lowles did, though. Reports are coming in of acid being thrown out of a car window at a Muslim woman in Middlesbrough. Absolutely horrendous. Josh Fenton Glynn is a Labour MP who retweeted this saying, far-right cowards attacking women. When people show you who they are, believe them. Oh, we are, Josh.
Yeah, you're showing us exactly who you are.
As you can see from the community note there, the local police were like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
This is fake news.
And it sounded extremely fanciful. That audio clip we just heard, I mean, that was, gangs of white lads going around in cars. So not just like one guy, but like several cars with white lads doing something that just historically hasn't been done by the white community.
But it has been done by other communities. It sounds rather like projection, doesn't it? But anyway, so this fake news engendered a Muslim Defence League riot. There were riots in Middlesbrough, there were riots in Birmingham, and things like that. And this there was this particular attack on a pub in which a man was beaten by literally like a dozen of them on the floor, and he suffered from a lacerated liver because he was just standing outside this pub. This giant mob of very angry Muslims walked past, saying things that weren't true. And so Sean McDonough, 51, was punched and kicked outside of the Clumsy Swan pub. And he literally came up to them and says, I don't know what's going on here, he says. That's all he said. And then they punched him to the floor and started kicking the hell out of him until he had a lacerated liver. So will any action be taken against Nick Lowles? Well, probably not, if there won't even be action taken against the police themselves.
Well, have they rounded up all of those people?
They've rounded up 0 people.
Yeah.
In fact, let's...
Can I ask a question? Whether you answer it or not is another question.
Am I under caution?
Do you not have, like, dispersal orders in place for situations like this?
Especially when, like...
You're not one of those people
that's trying to make money, are you?
No, I'm just there. People want to know what's going on, and you can get down on the ground and ask questions. It's good too. I was just wondering if there's dispersal orders in the area. No. So you wouldn't disperse people in a situation like this? You wouldn't, like, start giving dispersal orders? Or kettle them all in and take all of their addresses and details, because we've seen it in recent days where people have been kettled in. They've just attacked. Well, they have. They've just attacked the pub.
Not the people when we got here. They weren't.
But there's criminal damage to the pub. I've just recorded the window being smashed. So no arrests have been made, no. And nobody's been dispersed from the area. That's all you need to know, people. No dispersal orders.
So,
and that smug look of confusion on that guy's face, being expected to do his job.
Why is a white English guy coming up to me expecting help?
I'm not here for you.
Exactly.
I'm here for the Muslims.
Exactly. And so we've got Nick Lowles and a Labour MP sharing fake news that resulted in a pub being smashed and a man being assaulted, brutally assaulted. I'm not going to play the video, obviously, because YouTube probably like, hang on, you can't play that, because that's what YouTube is like. And so the police have decided to do nothing about it. They didn't get in touch about the incident the following day, even though people were terrified. And when they were walking down to the pub, I mean, you just get some of the most remarkable things that come out of their mouths.
Showing dominance, asserting dominance over everybody, you know what I mean?
Showing dominance, asserting dominance over everybody. Oh, right, okay, these are Keir Starmer's Muslims then. Right, okay.
Literally operating on playground tactics.
Yeah, except they're armed. Except they've got weapons.
And they've been given a message by the government that they're a protected class, and Keir Starmer has basically put a target on every white British person's back by just smearing them as far-right thugs.
Which is why they attacked a random English guy who didn't even know what was going on. He wasn't, like, political. He didn't know what was happening, and he just got beaten for it. The pub got smashed in. The locals had to barricade themselves in. They did get an apology from the Muslim community, which appears to have involved one of the guys who was doing the smashing. Which
this was from the community leader.
Yes, the community
that looked a lot like a hostage situation.
Yeah, and then Birmingham, and this happened in Birmingham Yardley. And so Birmingham Yardley MP Jess Phillips said these people came to this location because it had been spread that racists were coming to attack them. This misinformation was spread entirely to create this content. Don't spread it, Mr. Tice. So.
So thank God. So if they get the wrong information and smash stuff up, that's allowed.
Exactly. She admits.
Then it's the far right's fault. If the far right, I mean, I say far right, there's probably about 100 far right people in the country. But, you know, if British people, white British people protest and it gets out of hand and they riot, then that's the far right's fault. But if Muslims riot, that's also the far right's fault.
Exactly. And it's like, well, she admits, yes, it was fake news that ginned them up and made them come and smash up this pub and beat up this guy. So is anyone going to get arrested for this?
So the government assumption is just basically, if you get Muslims in a large group anywhere, we kind of just expect them to smash stuff up and they can't be held responsible for it. Whereas,
it's the bigotry of low expectations.
If misinformation is shared that leads to white people coming out, then the perpetrators have to be arrested, like that woman from Chester.
But the point being, they all admit that this is exactly the same situation as what happened in Southport. Misinformation, just flat out lies, cause people to go on a racist riot and rampage and attack people because of their skin color.
Well, I would
That's
say
what happened.
There's one big difference between this and Southport, which is at Southport, 3 children were murdered.
That's true. At least something horrible did actually happen to make people upset.
And apparently the catalyst for the rioting at that, so it was, a fairly peaceful vigil up until a certain point, and the catalyst for the disorder and the violence to break out was rumours went round that a Middle Eastern man had been arrested carrying a knife. And it was just, he looked Middle Eastern. He was actually a guy called Jordan, so he was just named after the Middle East. He wasn't actually from the Middle East. But yeah, it was a British guy, some lunatic with a knife who got arrested.
Yeah, I don't see what.
But that sparked, obviously, there's going to be a lot of tension in that crowd, so that sparked it.
But they are right that misinformation is bad, but it's only actually actionable when it's coming from one side. When it comes from their own side, they can just delete the tweets and go, well, sorry, how was I to know? Even though if the other side deletes their tweets, they still get arrested.
Nick Lowles even came out basically in support of misinformation when he said, those Wednesday riots, well, that was a complete hoax, but at least we got our anti-racist front pages on the news.
And also his fundraising. He sent around an email asking, he's got a £60,000 fundraiser. So the whole thing was a big grift for Hope Not Hate.
And Stand Up to Racism and the Socialist Workers' Party.
Shocked that they need to, because they must be getting paid stacks from the government at this point.
Yeah.
The Tories were paying them, let alone what the Labour Party must be paying them. Anyway, so this is, I think, a pretty good example. And so when people speak to local Birmingham residents, they're like, it does seem to be one rule for us and one rule for another. We feel it. It's in our communities. And so you think, okay, well, if the government admits it, the MPs, the people on the ground admit it, and even the police admit it. So an ex-policeman from the West Midlands Police, again, this is where Birmingham is, say, that we were told. Wow. Do we finally admit it? I mean, let's just see what he has to say.
Let's speak now to John, who is in the West Midlands. John, what did you make of that interview?
I rang up to call about two-tier policing.
Yeah, no, because we were just speaking to a former detective superintendent before the break who sort of seemed to blame everything on Nigel Farage and told me that there was just a policing adapted to community need. Look, I think that it'd be great if policing is trying to make sure that it's outcome focused, and if it means that things are keeping the peace or whatever and stopping things from flaring up, then fine. But the police are under attack for seemingly having, politicisation, two-tier morality, let's say. What's your view on that, as I believe an ex-policeman yourself?
I've experienced two-tier policing. There was riots in Handsworth years ago, and then they re-escalated around 2009, 2010. But because of the racial tensions, we were made as police officers to stand in like normal street uniform, with no protective clothing, just round shields. We had people walking past us with baseball bats and machetes, tapping on the shields, and we had to stand there and do nothing. Yet the next weekend you'd be at a football match and no holds barred. And it was like that all the time. It was based in Small Heath in Birmingham, right by the Green Lane Mosque. And you're always told to treat one side of the community one way and the other side completely differently.
Right. So everyone is admitting it. Everyone. So these denials are at best gaslighting and at worst just complete lies in order to make sure that the system of two-tier policing continues, whether you like it or not. And there are just some amazing clips like this during the original riots on the 3rd or 4th. This was...
Shut the fuck up!
No.
You're being saved from the 6 to 60. Shut up! Oh. The reason being is, you're dressed like a dickhead, you're not looking dickhead in.
You dress like a dickhead, you're from a dickhead area. You think they would ever say that against the Muslims?
No.
Remember, these people are going around causing criminal damage in massive mobs with machetes. It's a criminal offence in the UK to even be walking around in public in possession of a knife that's too long, let alone a machete. You don't have to be in a group. You just have to be out with a knife that's too big.
Yeah.
And they just completely ignore it. It's obviously one rule for thee, another for me.
Yeah. And
or for my client group.
And the thing is, like, this again, West Midlands police chief came out and explained that no, we do have two-tier policing. We let them police themselves. It's about a minute in.
Those community leaders doing such a good job.
An EDL type situation.
So we've policed in response to the intelligence that we received at that moment in time. What I would say is that the vast majority of people that attended that protest yesterday did so law-abidingly, and they did it with the right intentions. There were just a small minority of people that attended there and were intent on causing either criminality, disorder, or fear within our communities. What we saw was a response from our communities where they were trying to kind of make sure that that was policed within themselves as well, and trying to deter people from taking part in that disorder.
Well, they internally police. Oh, that's okay then. You can just watch. They're internally policing. Don't worry about it, bro.
Yeah. And he said he was having meetings with the community leaders, and they explained what the plans were for the demonstration. It's like, so how come one community gets to pick its policing from a menu that's on offer? And also, apparently, they weren't factual when they said there's not going to be any bother, because there was bother. There were people from that community going out armed and clearly looking for trouble. So, I mean, I don't know why that's allowed.
And there was footage from some of these police chiefs as well going to these community leaders and saying that, oh yeah, there's no such thing as two-tier policing, inshallah.
Yeah.
Surrounded by community leaders,
Salam
basically
alaikum.
gang leaders.
I'm surrounded by the Muslim community. Like, this is an ISIS hostage video. It's like, okay. But anyway, they did finally arrest one Muslim man. After all of this pressure,
we got one. Ladies and gentlemen,
he was holding a sword.
This was the one guy who was behind it all. Thank God.
This is that Black Samurai from that Netflix series.
But Keir Starmer was like, no, we've arrested and charged 400 people. We've got non-stop courts.
Fast tracking.
We've got one Muslim guy. And there we go, guys. See, it's not two-tier policing. We've got the guy, Sheraz Sarwar from Birmingham, quote unquote. So yeah, don't let them gaslight you into believing that there isn't two-tier policing. There so evidently is. It's all in front of our eyes. I mean, why hasn't Nick Lowell's been arrested? He's just as guilty as anyone else.
Yeah, even admitted it was a hoax. The thing that got onto all the front pages, which the government and the mainstream media seem to just swallow without any questioning. Oh, there's
so weird, isn't it?
100 far right. Did nobody think, like, wait a minute? And how many far right people have we got? It's pretty obvious. They also say that we faced down the far right thugs and we won. It's like, no, this shows that in fact the rioting was it suggests it was spontaneous and it was local people. 7 out of 10 of the people who've been arrested were arrested within 5 miles of their home. So it suggests that it was spontaneous. It's not far right thugs. There isn't a problem in the UK with organised far right thuggery being bussed in from different areas, like an army of far right people going around and like 100 far right protests. I mean, that's obviously absolute bollocks.
But I love the way it escalated during the day. It's like, oh, there's going to be like a dozen
30.
far right.
It's going to be
30, then 36, then 100. It's like,
and they all happen to be in minority areas somehow.
But yeah, exactly. They're all in like Brighton, Birmingham, and the most diverse areas of London, like Croydon. It's like, really?
So you can all come out and do wave your Palestinian flags.
Walthamstow EDL's out in force tonight, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Walthamstow EDL, Brighton EDL. Like, what are you talking
And they're like, we faced down hate. And it's like, yeah, actually, you chanted a lot of hate yourself and you caused a lot of disorder yourself. And what? Like, there's a Labour politician calling for far right people, which is basically a dog whistle for any white man.
Yeah.
Calling for them to have their throat slit.
Yeah.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're getting up to, you can follow our series Lads Hour on the website, where we normally have a lot of fun, but sometimes we talk about serious topics as well. And if you want to see all the other work we're putting out, you can follow us on Twitter, and you won't miss a thing. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.